There are so many resources out there to help you figure out what you want to do with your life. I've consumed dozens of them over the last 5 years. What I've started to realize is they're all kind of saying the same thing. In this video, I want to get rid of the fluff. I'm going to distill down into 2 simple steps that's at the core of almost every resource out there that helps you try to figure out what you want to do. They're not easy, but I promise you it is simple. Let's go. Step 1, audit. The first thing you need to do is you need to audit yourself. You need to evaluate yourself and develop a deeper understanding of who you are, of what you like to do, of what you're good at, of how you enjoy spending your time. Because at the end of the day, that's what a career is. It's a large collection of how you spend your time, what skills you're developing, and how you're utilizing those skills in the real world. So if you don't understand yourself and you don't understand what works best for you, how you best enjoy spending your time, you're never going to be able to find a career and find a path that really leads you to a satisfying and fulfilling life. So the first thing you're going to do is audit yourself. And there's 2 audits that you need to do. The first is an internal audit. And what I mean by that is you got to do some introspection. Get a notebook, get a piece of paper, and just start writing down all a list of experiences that you've had. Start with your professional experiences. Write down your current job and what your current experiences are. Get as granular as possible. All the responsibilities you have, all the tasks you do, all the things you have to do that's not part of your day job, but they make you do anyway. Write all those things down. Then think about your previous jobs. Then think about your academic experience. And then go even broader. Start thinking about what organizations you're involved in. If you go to a church or a synagogue and you're involved there, or clubs or activities or sports, cast a wide as net as possible. At this point, we're just free for all. You're just writing everything down. And the key with this is to be broad and to be specific. So write down anything that comes to mind and everything at a very granular detail about what your experiences were. Do this for about an hour and then put it away. It's important that you do this over the course of a couple of days at the minimum. And the reason is you're not going to get it right the first time. You're not going to remember every detail the first time. It's just like a writer. When they're writing a book, they don't write the whole book all at once or the whole chapter all at once. They come back and they revise themselves. And that's because when you step away from things and then you revisit it, different thoughts come up. Might be sparked from a conversation you had or something you watched or an experience you had, but you'll find when you come back and revisit your list tomorrow and then the next day and the week after that, different things will come up. But make sure you're doing this at least over the course of 3 days. At least have 3 separate sessions where you're sitting down and writing this really thorough and comprehensive list of your experiences. That's the internal audit, but what might be even more important and what you definitely cannot skip is the external audit. We're humans. We all have blind spots. There's a lot of things that we don't understand about ourselves. And so this is where you do the external audit and where you repeat this process, but instead of yourself, you're getting feedback from people who know you well. So make a list of at minimum 3 people, the more the better, 5, 10 if you could come up with it. It could be your partner, your best friends, your parents, your siblings, coworkers who know you really well, and just have a conversation with them. Doesn't have to be something formal, doesn't have to be this awkward thing. Just, hey, so-and-so, I'm starting to think about different careers that I might be interested in, so I'm just brainstorming what I like and what I'm good at. You've known me for a really long time. What would you say I'm really good at? Or, what have you seen me excel at? Or you see me get excited about? Or what have you noticed comes really easy to me? Again, don't overthink it. Keep it simple, keep it casual, do it over drinks, do it on the phone when you're catching up with your mom. But whatever it is, definitely do not skip this step. Personally, for me, this was one of the most important steps in my journey because as I was doing this a couple of years ago, I was having a conversation with a friend and he said something to me that was not on my list. It was not on my list of experiences and things that I thought I knew about myself. And what he said to me was, Mike, you're really good at making people feel comfortable. It's always been very easy to open up to you. And I was like, wow. I've always seen myself as a left-brain person, someone who's very technical. I studied math in school. I never thought about that. But after he said that, I started thinking more into it and I was like, I really do enjoy talking to people. Ever since then, that has been so impactful for me because I've started to orient my career and how I spend my time more around talking to people. I started a podcast. I now work more in sales versus more in the technical stuff that I used to do, and it's a much more enjoyable experience for me. So don't overthink it and definitely do not skip the external audit. After you do that, now you have these 2 lists. You have your internal audit list and your external audit list, and you're going to compare them. And what you're going to do is you're going to look for trends, for themes, for things that stand out to you. All we're doing right now, again, we're not deciding our career yet, we're just building hypotheses. We're building ideas of things that we like to do, things that we're good at, things that might be central to careers that we're going to end up really enjoying. And once you got that, now I move on to step 2. act. Now that you've developed a deeper understanding of yourself and you've got a few hypotheses about what you might be interested in and what careers might be suitable for you, it's time to start testing these hypotheses. And the way you do that is by taking action. So there's 3 simple actions you could take that are really effective for testing these hypotheses you might have. The first is research. Start getting your hands on as much information as you can about these careers and about the experience of working in these careers. Start reading books, start watching interviews, start following creators online on different platforms or people who work in these fields and who talk about them. Start listening to podcasts, whatever you could possibly get your hand on so that you could develop an understanding. At this point, we're just dwindling down the list a little bit, as much as we can by ourselves. Because the next step after you do your research is to start reaching out. So now that you have a better understanding of what careers you might be interested in, it's time to start reaching out to people who are actually in those careers, who could share their experiences and their insights with you. Because at the end of the day, there's only so much we could learn by ourselves, by doing our own research and being in our own head. So first, you're going to want to start reaching out to people directly in your network who work in those fields. Family members, friends, friends of friends, anybody you could connect with who happens to work in that field, who you can meet through an introduction or a simple connection. If you don't happen to know anybody in your immediate or extended network in that field, this is the beauty of the age that we live in. 10 or 15, 20 years ago, you would have been out of luck. But nowadays, with the beauty of the internet and social media, and specifically with LinkedIn, you could connect with anybody in any field, in any company. As long as you go about it in the right way, I promise you more times than not, people are willing to talk to you and to share their experiences with you. Now, I will admit there are a lot of wrong ways to go about this. So if you are curious about techniques and tactics that yield better results and higher responses, make sure you subscribe to the channel and stick around, because in the coming weeks I have some great content coming out where we really get into the nitty-gritty about tactics and techniques about reaching out to people. But basically, at a very high level, all you're going to want to do is send them a brief message where you explain who you are, why you're interested in this person, show that you've done some research into them, and then ask them if they'd be willing to take a call for 30 minutes, or if you happen to live near them, if they'd be open to grabbing a cup of coffee or connecting with them at some conference or event that they're going to be at. More times than not, as long as you go about this in the right way, people are willing to do this. So after you've gone through this process and you've started to get feedback from people, by now you might be getting a really clear sense of what careers you might be interested in exploring, and maybe you want to go full steam ahead at this point. However, if you're still not sure, this is where the last step of action could come into play, and if you're able to pull this off, this is gold. And that is trying out. If possible, see if there are ways, particularly low-stakes ways, in which you could try out being in this field in some regard. Maybe there's ways you could volunteer in this field, or shadow someone if you know somebody personally, or just develop a bit more of a deeper connection with somebody who already works in that field, where you could get an even deeper view into what life would be like working in this field without blowing up your life yet, or without committing to a big career change. Again, it's not always easy to find ways to try these things out, but if you get creative, there might be opportunities. And if you're able to do that, that will be the most powerful way in which you could gain insight into whether or not this field really is going to be a fit for you, and if it's going to lead you to a fulfilling and satisfying life. So, just to recap, step 1, audit yourself. Develop a deeper understanding of what you like doing, what you're good at, and the way you do that is by doing internal audit, you reflecting on yourself and your personal experiences, and an external audit, getting feedback from people who know you really well. Step 2 is taking action. Start doing research, start reaching out to people who are in that field, and if possible, find low-stakes ways that you can start trying out some of those potential careers. Very simple, but again, not easy. You have to commit to doing the work. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you again soon.